Hey everybody, this is Sarah Whitaker,
And Salty Dalty.
here for Working the World, episode 20, Living the Gimmick and Wrestlers with Actual Gimmicks.
And we'll go ahead and kind of go into that a little bit deeper, what the meaning of that means. But it's like wrestlers who either occupationally or character-wise with their personality live their gimmick outside the ring.
As always, you can find us on your favorite podcast platforms and find us on YouTube, Working the World 0240.
So, Sarah, jargon of the day.
Jargon of the day is... Oh my gosh, I completely...
Living the gimmick.
Living the Gimmick, that's right.
See, yeah, that's what happens when you have too much caffeine before you come in here.
Yeah, I totally had too much caffeine before I came in here.
Yeah, well, I was going to say I have sparkling ice myself with caffeine added, but I was going to say you got to know your limitations.
But weren't we also going to rehash kayfabe?
Yeah,
At the same time.
because it ties
in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and let you have the floor on this one, and we'll go from there.
Living the Gimmick is basically being who you are, the same persona that you have been on stage as if you had it on regular day-to-day basis.
Oh, you mean like Salty Dalty?
Well, I mean, the Salty Dog is more you than Salty Dalty is.
How you know that I'm not an escaped mental patient who enjoys beating people up and drinking low-quality malt liquor? How you know that ain't real? How you know that ain't real? But go ahead with the Salty Dog in case people don't know.
Well, I mean, he plays two versions of his gimmick. He plays the escaped mental patient, and he plays the biker version. And the biker version is modeled after your father.
Yes.
Yeah.
Basically, it's kind of like an evolved version of the mental patient because I can go back and forth in between there in certain promotions and go back from being one version to the other, because it's like Finn Balor and Demon the way I see it. Just adds another layer to where it's like, okay, Salty Dalty, he's calmed down, he's joined the Outlaws, and he's just enjoys mouthing off and beating people up, and the head trauma's not affecting him as badly. But long story short, my father, he was heavily into motorcycles, knew some people that were in motorcycle clubs and all that. He liked drinking beer. He really enjoyed, my dad was he had a really short temper too. He'd just go off on people for no reason sometimes. Like my mom's told me some stories. I've seen it firsthand too, but it's like, you know what? I think I should go ahead and, because he was supportive of me becoming a pro wrestler before he passed away. He's been dead for over 10 years. But it's like, you know what? I think I'm going to go ahead and model this character slightly after him. And it's easy because, like, that's a lot of those qualities, especially with the short temper, is in me.
Mm.
So you can tell me that.
Oh, you do have a bit of a short temper.
And also a smart mouth, too.
And a smart mouth, yes.
So, well, what do you think when we did all the Instagram stuff with us at Western when we were initially getting the podcast started? I entitled the caption of this "Mouthing Off."
Well, going back to Living the Gimmick, I mean, the one that does it the most, because he actually changed his name to The Warrior, was, I mean, the Ultimate Warrior, because, oh my, I had one too many Tootsie Rolls when I came in here, and so,
Honey, I gotta tell you, you're sweet enough as it is. In case that goes off again, that's her blood sugar monitor on her phone, so.
Alright, it's going to be a running gag, I swear.
Yeah.
But...
Oh, you're sweet enough as is, that's why you need salty.
Well, I mean, keeping kayfabe, and, because it's like, especially in the olden days where the wrestlers had to live their gimmick on a day-to-day basis in public, I mean, it's like, how is the difference between the olden days and keeping kayfabe and the new days and living the gimmick?
Well, here's what I was going to say. Like, going back to Warrior, he was kind of like on the fringe of when they were switching over to that, but mentally, he was like, I'm going to be the ultimate warrior, basically. I mean, yeah, he was Jim Hellwig. He was, a former bodybuilder, soon to be chiropractor, really intense personality and all that. And that the Ultimate Warrior was an extension of who he really was, turned up to 12. But he was the gimmick in the sense that, he like going back to that story, it's like Taker told on, I think it was Mike Tyson's podcast. He said Warrior, when everybody else would be trying to blend in and all that, he'd have all this airbrush denim with his picture all over. Yes, yes, I am the Warrior, walking through there, and people recognize him when he'd be going through the airports. And he was a really intense human being. From like stories that I've heard of him on car rides, how he would just randomly, like the salty dog, just sometimes go off rambling, and other times he'd be cool. So I think PED is also playing that a little bit too. But his personality is that he was living life 110% full throttle all the time. And if you're not living. So, and it's like that was a natural extension of who he was, the Ultimate Warrior character to an extent. So, but let's go into also another example to where it's occupational,
Oh,
because I know exactly which you want to go ahead and talk about.
I have several I want to talk about, but I want to hear yours first.
Well, I was going to say I'm going to leave the floor for you for the first one because it's probably your favorite.
Well, Paul Bearer being an actual mortician.
Mm-hmm.
That I mean, it's like because it's like especially with how the business works and getting inspiration to um bring people in and actually work the gimmick because you have knowledge of the actual um profession and stuff like that. I mean, it's like especially he brought it to his promos. He
Mm-hmm.
brought it. I mean, especially like when they were trying to embalm him alive,
Austin, yeah.
Austin and stuff like that. I mean, it's like I mean, just bringing that knowledge of
Credibility.
credibility. I mean, it's like in a movie
Mm-hmm.
when you see somebody playing the piano, you know whether or not they're actually playing the piano or
Yeah.
just. I mean, it gives you more immersion if the person actually knows how to play the piano.
Well, I was going to say, because the reason the gimmick worked is because Bill Moody, Paul Bearer's real name, he was in the business as a wrestler before, for like, I want to say 15 years before. He broke in the mid 70s in the Pensacola Mobile territory, Continental. And he was childhood friends with none other than Michael P.S. Hayes. Depending on which generation you are, Doc Hendricks. That's your generation.
That's my generation.
Yeah, I mean, we know him as Doot Doot Doot. Anyway, I digress on that. But they were childhood friends. He actually became a wrestler a little bit before he was a manager, and then he decided, you know what, I think I can contribute a little bit more as a manager. But he had a college degree in mortuary sciences. Can't tell you which college off the top of my head, but he went and did wrestling for years and years and years as Percy Pringle the Third, and he kind of modeled himself after Bobby the Brain Heenan, who was his favorite manager and a lot of people's favorite manager at that time. Just pretty boy, blonde-haired boy, with the blonde mustache, blonde hair, but same build as what he had when he was Paul Bearer. And it's like he had that weird kind of ghoulish face like he always had, and just like something like he did really well on there. He was really expressive. Ah, shut up. Yes, we know she's sweet enough as is. But I was gonna say, he was it felt like, there's something maybe a little bit more to this guy, but there was he spent most of his time in Dallas and in mid South there in those areas, but mostly Dallas. And he decided that it's like, well, we've been losing so much money and all this, but territory's closing when WCCW became USWA along with Memphis, and it's like, well, I guess I'm going to go ahead and quit the business and go and go back to mortuary science. And he called Rick Rude, was one of the people he just calls like, oh, no, 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 you're not quitting the business yet. You're not quitting the business yet. He's like, I want you to write this number down on the phone. Okay, whose phone number is this? This is Vince McMahon's home number, Bill. Vince McMahon's home number? Okay, it's like, now I'm going to tell him, going to be expecting a call from you. He answers the phone when Bill calls him. Percy, where you been all my life? Could you meet me after the holidays for maybe have a meeting and negotiate? It's like, oh yeah, sure. And then the office calls him back the next day. It's like, yeah, Vince changed his mind. Can you come down today?
Mhm.
Comes down at last minute, and he actually put together before this meeting a best of tape and a resume of everything he'd done, in and out of the business. And Vince is sitting there with JJ, Pat Patterson. They're going reading to this, and Vince takes his glasses like this. He is a legit mortician. Ha 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 ha. Everybody in the room goes and just starts bursting out laughing. And Bill is confused, like, what in the heck are they laughing at? I'm a mortician. Okay, here's the contract. Go ahead and sign it when you see your lawyer when you go home. We want to go ahead and start this deal with you. He doesn't sign it when he gets home. He signs it right on the plane on the way home. Doesn't he? Like, yes, because he was in need of a job. And then they call him back a couple weeks later. And it's like, well, we're going to turn you into a mortician. We're going to make you Paul Bearer, the manager of The Undertaker. We're going to model you like Gomez Adams. It's like, Paul Bearer. And then at first he absolutely hates, like, my God, why? It's like he did not want to dye his hair, do any of that stuff. But when he saw those paychecks, like, well, I think I can get into this. Oh yes. And just having that credibility, of course. But let's go ahead and actually go ahead and go a little bit deeper into this. Talk about the Undertaker himself,
Mm.
because he was one of those guys. Like, after he got this gimmick, it's like, okay, I've got to maintain this mystique around it, and I'm gonna go ahead and kind of model my behavior outside the ring when people can see me. After the Undertaker, I'm gonna go ahead and not say much. I'm going to dress in all black. It's like, I'm not going to let people see my eyes. I'm going to go ahead and wear sunglasses, maybe a bandana. It's like, I'm going to look like how you would imagine the Undertaker if he wasn't in his coat and hat outside the ring, like if he was, in a car on the way to the next town. So I wish that he would have driven a hearse from town to town, but that's just me. But I died. Well, it was easier when he was American Badass, just ride the bike from town to town.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's like, he wanted to maintain that mystique about him, to where when people saw him on TV, it's like, man, it's this guy, like, is he really, like, he might not be dead, but is he really this messed up in the head? Or like, is there something like voodoo occult with him? What's going on with him? So, but I think he's a perfect example of, like, living your gimmick on the outside of the ring, but not necessarily taking it too far.
Mostly in a healthy way,
Yes.
where you're keeping kayfabe, but you're not changing.
You're not shooting.
You're not shooting.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's like, well, Roddy Piper said it best. Like, when people say they're working, it's like, it's usually lying and manipulating. It's like, oh, honey, I was just working. It's like, no, one tackle, drop down, get it again, then you're working. So I digress on that. So yeah, I was just working. And apparently this is working too, so shut the heck up.
I've tried to turn off the volume on that, and it goes through all the filters that I have.
Oh no, we're letting this air. We're letting this air.
We're letting this. Well, I mean, because it's entertainment.
It's not only entertainment, but it's also shown, like, people, like, legitimately salty dog. I mean, it's like, if we weren't having to use anything else on this phone, I'd go ahead and throw it across the room. But then again, I have to pay $1,000 for it. But
Yeah.
I digress. Anyway, so another character came into mind.
Oh.
Big Boss Man.
Ah, yes.
So Ray Traylor, before he broke into business, was a legit prison guard and actually utilized some of like his self-defense detainment strategies, like stuff that he would really do, like in the ring, from what I was told. It's like when he was manager for Jim Cornette and Midnight Express, Big Bubba Rogers.
Mm.
He was like a strong but deadly silent bodyguard. Well, he's like, don't worry, Jimmy. When we go out there, I'll just go ahead and use some of my prison detainment techniques on the mark so we can make sure we can get through okay without getting hurt. That's how he talked. I mean, because, like, actually, somebody I was talking to Boss Man the other day is like, you do not expect a guy as big and as heavy as he was to move as fancy free as he did and as quickly as he did. Because he had a grace and a speed and an acceleration to him that you do not see with a lot of big guys. I mean, good Lord, he moved like a cat. But yeah, he was another great example of that. Like letting your because a lot of guys from the 80s
From
and
the
the early
80s.
90s, yep, they had a previous occupation before they got in the business, and Vince a lot of times just threw that on. It's like, oh, you used to do such and such. You were a prison guard. Okay, well, make your gimmick a prison guard. Sometimes it's great, and sometimes it's less than ideal. So sorry, Bob.
Yeah. Thurman Sparky Plug.
Or Bob Sparkplug Holly,
Like,
depending on when you saw him first.
yeah.
But I was gonna say I actually talked with him about that a little bit a couple of years ago. And he says, like, the thing about the gimmick that bugged me the most is that they want me to be this happy, jovial, like race car driver. And anybody that is around, especially stock car drivers in the South, knows that they're not always happy, jovial people. They can get really angry and really irritable behind the wheel of a car because you try being strapped into a 3,500 pound stock car going about 200 miles an hour, and it's not doing the things you want it to do to go fast. It's like, oh, this thing's pushing like a dump truck. I can't get it turned. It's like, oh man, the rear end's coming around. It's getting loose. You obviously, if you follow some of my escapades on iRacing, you know about that. Yep. So don't nobody book me as a stock car driver. You hear? I'm happy as salty dalty.
Yeah.
But
Wouldn't you be too big for a stock car driver?
I was gonna say not if I was Buddy Baker or Tiny Long. Those guys were about 6'5", 6'6", 300 pounds,
Mm.
and they were successful too. Well, then again, Buddy Baker just broke about every almost every other race car that he drove, and they won half the time. So, but I digress. Rest in peace, Buddy Baker. But yeah, there have been some big guys that have been stock car drivers too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, because Buddy Baker was, like I said, 6'6", 250, something like that. And Tiny Lum was like about 270, 300, somewhere in there. There have been some big, Michael Waltrip's really tall too. He's about my size.
Okay.
But yeah, in case the more you know.
The more you know.
But
Okay.
but I will say this: Bob became a lot more comfortable when he became a hardcore Holly because
Yeah.
that was more his real personality on there. Like Bob's a very tough-minded Southern boy who doesn't take no crap from nobody. So some people like that attitude and buy into it. Some people don't. So I mean, I always got along good with Bob. So,
Hmm.
but I digress.
So, especially when we look into the older times and whatnot, I mean, it's
Mhm.
like, is it the same living the gimmick if you're somebody like Andre who that's who he is? Like, or
Well, we're actually going to be getting more into Andre in a future episode. So.
the phone agrees.
Yep, it agrees. If you know, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, sometimes with the gimmick, you're kind of forced to live it because that's who you are and you can't hide from it. And that was one of the things that, like, pardon me, Andre used to say is that it's like if I could just walk around one day a week as a normal man, I'd be the happiest man on earth.
Hmm.
Because that was one that was kind of hard for him to kind of live with and deal with too. So I mean, it made him a lot of money. Got him be the most famous wrestler in the world at the time. But whew, I could not. I mean, I'm just under 6'5", depending on the day, depending on how much spinal compression I have. I weigh about 275, 280 pounds right now, and I have trouble getting around as is, finding comfortable seats, comfortable bed, all that. I mean, I had the microphone adjusted before we went on the air here. Imagine being over 7 foot and over 400 pounds, having to live that day to day to day to day too.
Well, I mean, you just had to purchase your knee braces
Mm-hmm.
because you're so big that you
Yeah,
keep hyperextending.
yeah. Well, I have that genetically anyway. So
Right, it's
I
genetic.
have hyperflexive joints. You can see that here a little bit. Not as much as some people, but they're there. But that's also because I'm also getting old as crap too. So this is the same knee that I also tore meniscus in 2018, but I digress on that.
Well, I mean, especially when you think about people like Ric Flair,
Mm,
like he was the uh, epitome of drinking and partying and having women
mm.
and
That was him before he was even in the business, for crying out loud.
so was he living the gimmick though?
Well, he turned it up to 13 and even higher sometimes when he was in the business. But I was going to say his personality, I've been told, is a little bit different because he was a little bit more low key back in the day. Now he's just like Warrior was, like, "Whoop," pretty much most of the time. So especially when he's out in public, he's the type of guy that always has to be doing something. He gets bored very easily. So he's not the type of guy that sits down at home, reads Shakespeare, smokes a cigar in front of the candle lights or the fireplace and enjoys himself. No, he has to go out and do something. He's got to keep himself stimulated at all times. So, and that's just who he is.
Well, especially like thinking about the MMA fighters in
Hmm.
WWE and out in the indies and stuff like that. Would you say that's also living the gimmick, like Dan the Beast Severn or Ken Shamrock
Or Brock
or
Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar?
Yep, yeah. I mean, you could make a case for that because of their previous sports background. I mean, Kurt Angle, like his gimmick is that he was an Olympic gold medal wrestler, and also who didn't mind making a fool of himself from time to time. But yeah, I was gonna say it's like you could make a case for that because their gimmick is, what they're actually doing between the ropes is, going doing like shoot takeovers, shoot suplexes, stuff like that, putting shoot holds while I'm working them. But is you could make a case for it, but I because usually when people think gimmicks, they think something outside of the pro wrestling industry that's being brought into it.
Mm-hmm.
So you could make a case for it. So, but MMA, especially like because Shamrock, when he did it, I don't think they were quite ready for him at the time
Mm-hmm.
because it hadn't become mainstream. But when Brock went and did and became UFC champion, and then went and came back in the MMA shorts, all that, oh my God, it's like it made him, like, it gave him a second half to his career even better than the first half. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you could make a case for that easily. So, pardon me, I'm a little bit plugged up today. Pardon if I sound like a little bit nasally today.
It's okay.
It's okay. But
Alrighty. So, what other gimmicks that came to life when they performed it? Like uh I mean Bob Backlund.
mm-hmm.
I mean it's like
Well, he tried running for, I think, U.S. Senate or U.S. Congress in Connecticut because he, did the whole Mr. Backlund gimmick when he came back in the 90s after being a big star for Vince Sr. And, I mean, his gimmick was kind of like the first anti-villain in a way. Yeah, I
the
guess
phone
the
of
phone
keys.
crease. Anti-villain, where it's like you're being good, being bad by being good. So it's like, oh, the old self-righteous politician. That's kind of what he became, and he legit tried to run for office in 2000, I believe. In it was Connecticut. I remember that because that's where he was living at the time. But actually, did we mention that in the previous podcast, Politics and Pro Wrestling?
We possibly did.
We possibly did. Yeah.
I don't remember.
But also going back, there's also been several wrestlers who've been academic teachers in the business too.
Shane Douglas.
Shane Douglas, Matt Stryker. But I was gonna say the some people say the Dean Douglas gimmick flopped, and there's several theories on it, but because Shane was phenomenal in ECW, is the franchise phenomenal, and TNA is the franchise. But I was gonna say his promos, the way that Vince wanted him to do his promos in WWF, I just didn't think worked for the character because Vince wanted him to take inspiration from a college professor that he had that talked like that. But he actually tried doing a promo as Dean Douglas, but as like he would franchise, and everybody in the whole studio popped except Vince. Like, no, I want it done the way that you did before. It's like pulling teeth. But somebody who did the teacher gimmick, I think absolutely perfect though, was Matt Stryker. And especially when they put him on commentary, that's why like he was good in the ring, but he really shined on the mic in the commentary. So I mean, Christ, he even called Shawn Michaels' last his retirement match at WrestleMania 26, and had like a scientific element, like Mike Tenay in a way. But I digress on that. So, but any more gimmicks that come to mind?
I'd like to delve into the indie circuit to see if there's anybody that
Salty Dalty.
other than Salty Dalty that does that, because I feel like it's a bit of a lost art because there's not a lot of gimmicks to be lived, I don't believe, because it's like especially a lot of people go into professional wrestling in order to escape. And so it's like they're people that they're living out their fantasies is what they want to be in the ring, and like getting all the accolades and the
women, the money, the miles, see who can drink the most beer.
Right.
Well, I already got one woman. I know I can probably outdrink most of the people around here, but I digress on that.
So, I mean, can you think of any indie wrestlers right now that are living the gimmick?
Well, I tell you one that comes to mind. No, it's not Salty Dalty. But I was gonna say, best one that comes to mind is Red Wing.
Red Wing.
Because he is a legit drug-free power lifter who set like God, I know his total's over 2,000. So because like I know he's done over a 500 bench. Like I've seen him do like a 700 squat on his Instagram, done like a 650 700-pound deadlift. It's been a minute. So the reason I mention Red Wing a lot on the podcast, because I actually would love to get him on here at some point, but he actually was my first ever match that I ever had. So it was me and that, purple Oompa Loompa that I can't escape from against him in a handicap match over at Magnum at the last show that they ever had at the Eagles Club, that little itsy bitsy teeny weeny bar in Council Bluffs with a low ceiling and a low boy ring. Fun times. But I was going to say, is like, I'm starting to see a house over your head. And I thought it was going to be the A in the YMCA, but it looks like we have to go home today.
That's right. We have to go home. And I forgot to give you my pen.
Yeah, don't worry.
What are you dropping this time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dropping the hammer.
Alrighty, you can find us on your favorite podcast platforms and on YouTube, Working the World 0240.
And of course, shoot the half. And don't forget to trail break through the corner, then beat the throttle.
And
and turn off your diabetic monitor next time, for crying out loud.
Stay classy and shoot the half.
Take her easy.